Welcome to Zoom in on a fresh conversation. We have been gone for 2 weeks and I'll tell you, I needed a break. So welcome back. It has been a nice 2 weeks off, but we want to get started in this next month with so many wonderful authors. I hope you will join us every Monday night at 8 o'clock. And my name is Donna Graybanks. I am your guest host tonight. No, your host tonight. I'm not a guest. The guest is Dr. Cappila Gaines, and she is an entrepreneur, a public speaker, activist, and the author of From Prison to Power. And I welcome you here this evening. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're going to talk to Ms. Gaines about her career and her circumstances, which led her to a prison sentence. And so it's a very compelling story, and I hope that you guys will go out and buy the book when it's done. Zoom in on a Fresh Conversation is sponsored by Islands Diamonds LLC, the F.R.E.S.H Book Festival, which will be held in the beautiful city of Daytona Beach, 23, 24, 25 February and 2023, and it's coming much faster than I can imagine. It's kind of taking my breath away. It's September already. And if you have questions for Dr. Gaines, please leave them in the chat room and we will go back to them at the end of the conversation. And again, this conversation is being recorded. And thank you everybody for being here on Monday night. Good evening, Dr. Gaines. And please take a moment and give our audience a little snippet about yourself.
Good evening. Again, my name is Dr. Cappila Gaines. I am originally from Florida, now residing here in Georgia. I'm a wife to Kaleah Gaines Sr., a mother of 4, and a grandmother of 7.
Ooh, nice. Nice.
I was born in Sanford, Florida, and my mother's name is Gwendolyn M. My father's name is the late Samuel L. Jackson. My grandparents, my parental grandparents, the late Mother Aide Jackson and Reverend Dr. Abner Jackson, they reared me in a small community in Sanford called Midway. Yes, I
think I got run out of Midway one.
Did you?
Back in the day.
Whoa. I attended the local schools of Sanford. I graduated from Seminole High School, class of 88.
All right.
Yes. I attended Seminole State, Bethune-Cookman, Rollins, and I'm a doctoral graduate of J.D. Price Theological Bible College in Orlando. My career background is of the beauty industry. I taught with Seminole County Schools, a private school, New Life Academy, and finance. So I worked in the finance industry, and that's
pretty much. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's
okay.
That's a lot to unpack. It's very, very good that you've been in the state of Florida most of your time, right? And most of us who live here are very familiar with the Sanford area. It became very famous at one time for something that we don't need to discuss, right? But it has changed its ways and it's on its way back. So your hometown is really changing its atmosphere. We'll just put it that way. Yeah. So listen, we're going to get right into it.
Okay.
Tell us about, listen, this story was not, you had to think like 4, 5, 6 times before you wrote this, right?
I did.
Oh, yeah. So how did you decide that this story needed to be told? Because it's very personal, very personal.
Very. Reverend Dr. Tyler Anderson, my oldest son, was astonished by the positive effects my journey through prison produced in my life. So much so that he'd often say, Mom, to experience such a disappointment and pain and have such a positive attitude is God-given. He said, your story will help people. You need to write a book. So again, just like you said, I responded several times in opposition. The buts and the well, I've never, and he said, listen, I'm hiring a publisher, and that he did.
And so when you were writing, and this is probably not a question to ask you, but it just has come to my mind, while you were writing, did you tell anyone that you were going to do it? Was this a well-kept secret, or did you let the family kind of know before you decided to do it?
Of course, Tyler knew, my husband knew, I guess my children knew, but I didn't express it with,
Your extended family,
I didn't.
friends? You did not. You did
No.
not. And were any of the friends and family in the book that had to be told they were going to be notified? Were they notified that they were going to be in the book?
So what I did is I didn't use anyone's name.
Okay.
To keep it safe.
Change the names to protect the innocent.
I just had to do that.
And so when you're writing something so personal, Dr. Gaines, what space did you write that in? Or were you in a coffee shop? Were you home? How did you do that?
So I chose a room in my home.
Okay.
And in that room, what I did is I put a lot of I'll call it paraphernalia from prison. So the letters, that I received from friends, the cards, birthday cards, Mother's Day cards. I put a lot of different things in a room so it could actually place me back into that situation. I didn't expect for it to do it as deep as it did, but I'll say that that's something that I would recommend. If you could find something from a situation or something that takes you, to that place, that was just the best idea that we had.
And how long did it take you
to write the book? So I started writing the book in prison.
Okay.
I finished the book. I think it took me about 4 months to complete the book.
Yeah. 4 or 5 months. That's usually it takes me much longer, but because life gets in the way, you start and start, right?
Right.
But okay, so I don't want you to give the book away because it's a good book, and I really want people to reach out and buy their own copy. But give us just a little background about what led to your time in prison.
Okay.
Maybe we'll talk about the mistakes, or maybe we'll talk about the people you surrounded yourself with.
Okay.
Right.
So the book goes in depth of my admiration for a close friend and I would say coworker at the time.
Right.
Her life was just, to me, it was just a life of fun and materialistic gain. And I wanted to know how she was doing it. I mean, we worked the same place, and I just couldn't understand how she could afford that type of life off of,
what you were doing too, right? You guys were kind of working together, right?
Right.
Okay.
So after asking her how she obtained the means, of such a lavish lifestyle, she introduced me to what would lead me to money, fine living, greed, and deceit, ultimately time in federal prison.
And while you were in this journey, right? Of deceit and money and, living a lifestyle, you knew all that was not right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you came from a background of very God-fearing church people, right?
Yes, I did.
Right.
I did.
And so how is it that you, what's the word? How is it that you decided that it was okay?
So it was never, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I know that money and lifestyle always gives you that push to say, it's really not that bad, right? So go ahead.
So it was never okay. The way that I started wasn't intended to go the way that it did.
Absolutely.
You ever heard when you let the devil in, he takes you farther than you want to go, keep you longer than you want to be there, and you do things you never thought you would. So that's where I went. Now, there's no excuses for what I did. I've always 100%. I did it. I did it. There was no. I did it. I told the judge I did it. And it was never okay. There were times when I knew, I said, Lord, please just let me get through this, or, just let me, get my kid through this semester, or let me do, let this. So I knew it was wrong. Absolutely knew it was wrong.
So you had much grace during this period, and you understood that, right?
Right.
Yeah, because at one point, after you were given prison time, you were allowed to stay home a year.
Yes.
That never happens, you know that.
Right. So
that never happens.
So in the federal system, you're right. It happens very seldomly.
Right.
They'll give you time to take care of your affairs.
A minute,
but not a year.
Not a year. I'm here to tell you, it's never a year.
Right. And there's a few things, where God showed where it was mere favor. That's exactly what it was, just favor. I was never arrested. Like, I was never handcuffed and taken to jail. Never. I was given a date to show up for my first appearance, me and the lawyer. So as we sat at the table, my rights were read to me. My charges were read to me. And he said, and you're released on a signature bond. So I look at my lawyer, I'm like, was I just arrested? He said, yeah, you were just arrested and released.
Yeah.
So you're right. God just showed me so much favor, to the point of, that's why I had to tell it. Someone needs to understand that no matter how far you go or deep you get, he's still there waiting. He's no matter what it is, he's there waiting. But a lot of times people, they don't know, because of course they've never thought about it.
Right.
Or you think you go so far, or you think you've done such bad things that there's no redemption. And it is. There is redemption, because that's who he is.
That's who he is.
That's exactly who he is.
That's who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were given a year and a day, did you understand that if you had not gotten that day, you would not have gotten to prison? Absolutely. So the lawyer, we were prepared I signed a 5-year plea agreement. Okay. And the lawyer that was representing me at the time, he quit the day of sentencing. So oh my Lord. We had to start over. And I was given what we call a federal defender, and which is a paid lawyer, the government's lawyer. And he was just a blessing. Of course, I ended up with the year and a day. Yeah, when I read that, I thought that one day would have kept you in county jail as opposed to going to prison. So to our audience, anyone who doesn't know that if you get 1 year, you can stay in county. If you get 1 year and a day, you're going to prison.
Right.
And so please just fight for that one day not to
That
happen.
day.
Yeah, that day really puts a real twist in your life. So you got 1 year and a day. And so we're not giving you, audience, we're not giving you the book because the book is the meat. We really want to talk about the criminal justice system and how that system really needs to be grenaded and blown up all over again. So when you were in county, you did go to county for a minute, right? Is that correct?
No, I never went to county.
You went straight to prison.
Right.
Oh, okay.
There
So
was
you took a long ride.
So
with your son, is that correct?
Say that again?
Who'd you ride to prison with? Was that your son?
No, so my son took me to the airport and I flew to prison.
Oh.
And then I was picked up in Texas by a cousin.
Okay.
And she took me over to the facility where I stayed 89 days there.
Tell us about that ride.
You know, I just didn't think about it. I had actually, if you will, I kind of, you know, focused out. I knew this is something that I had to do. I just left my family back home. So we didn't think about it.
Did you know going in you weren't going to do the whole time there?
Going to Texas?
Going to prison. Because you weren't there the whole year.
No.
Okay.
So I knew that I would do the time that I did, and then you go over to what they call a halfway house. And you can do up to a year at the halfway house, but the halfway house was full and no one was able to get into the halfway house. It had been that way for about a year. But once again, you know, I was able to get to the halfway house. And I think I did a week at the halfway house, and I was released, you know, on a daily basis to go to work. And then I would go back to the halfway house. And after 3 weeks, they actually released me to go home right before Christmas. So I went home. We had to use an ankle monitor.
Right.
And I think I had the ankle monitor for 2 months, and then it was over.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot in between. It was, you know, and then it was over. But I went and came home in the same year.
Tell us about your first night.
So when I did reach the facility, I was terrified because the plane, my flight had been delayed. And we were told, you know, in court, if you are late, then you get charged with absconding.
Oh.
So I have a late flight. My family's calling, you know, I'm doing all I can, you know, to get there. So once I get there, I realize that I'm there. And the first night, believe it or not, I slept. And that was the first night I slept in a long time. When I woke up the next morning, I was awakened by screaming. Someone screaming in the hallway. I don't know what she was screaming about, but she was very upset. So I was, you know, that scared me. And I started to think about home. And that's when it got a little rough. I think it took about 2 days or so, you know, everything mellowed out. You can't use the phones right away. So you have to wait until you're put in the system. So you go about 2 weeks without even talking to anyone from home. And once you're put into the system, that's when you can make a phone call. Now the phone calls are 15 minutes. So whatever you can do in 15 minutes,
You got to get it done.
You got to do it in 15 minutes. So it was, my first month was rough. It was really, really rough. I was
here's the thing. Here you are, a polished woman, right? Businesswoman. And then you're thrown in to the prison system. And somehow you developed a family.
Yes.
In the time that you were there.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us how. I mean, because they had to be looking at you sideways, right? Coming in, right?
You have to understand that I went to federal prison.
Right. Different.
So I wasn't the only one there.
Oh, right. You
with that background.
Okay.
Right. You know,
yeah.
I was just a drop in the bucket.
Right.
You know?
Okay. Okay.
So it was
I just wanted the people to understand the difference between federal prison and regular prison, because most of those are white collar crime people.
Right.
Correct? Okay, go ahead.
Correct. Correct. So I want to back up just a little bit because I really need for I need for this to be captured.
Okay.
Because I don't want this taken lightly.
Right.
Or I don't want anyone to think, oh, she just no.
No.
So what led me to doing what I think you asked me earlier, you know, why did you keep doing what, when you knew it was wrong, why did you keep doing it? So I later found out that the need of acceptance, wanting to mean more and, you know, be the hero to people was my motive. That was big to me. But then I found out that, you know, people will take as much as you give them. I mean, that's just the normal.
It's long. They'll take it as long as you give it to them.
Yeah. And that's just normal human nature.
Right.
You know, that's just man, you know. But Yahweh taught me to allow him to be God. Let him be God. And my job is to allow others to see his work through me. You know, you asked the question about, you know, what did I learn about friends? What did I learn?
Oh, we didn't get there yet, but come on, let's go.
Okay. What did I learn? You know, Psalms 118 and 8. It says, it is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in man. And, you know, you hear these things in church, or you hear them along the way, and it doesn't make sense until it makes sense. So it made sense. You get what I mean?
Yes.
In prison, the group of the family that you're speaking of was a group of ladies. You know, we shared the same breaking process. We experienced this traumatic, life-altering event together. Some get it, some don't. But for the ones that get it, you know, now that's your family. And you hold that bond. Even now, we still communicate, you know, we stay in contact, because that, again, it's a life-altering experience. I was in prison with judges, with CEOs, with doctors, and doctors, as you read. So you know, I was almost at home, you know, because I was there with like-minded people. I mean, it was a home where you don't want to stay, of course.
Right.
But as far as something being foreign, conversation wasn't foreign, because we were all there together. It was, you know, we were like-minded. So that group of ladies, again, I still call them my family.
Was there an OB1? Was there a woman who had been there a while and kind of gave you the ropes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Her name was Paula, last name was Stanton, I think. She murdered 2 men. And that month that I'm telling you about,
Right.
she pulled me up on my feet. She
Wow.
said, listen, you know, whatever you did it. And you're not gonna get anything out of this, you know, feeling sorry for yourself. So you got to pull it together.
So she was a lifer.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So she put you up on game the minute, like after the month, right?
Yes.
Really nice. Really nice. And you're still in contact with her as you can be?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, because she was actually released.
Oh.
She was actually released. I have no idea, you know, where she is. I didn't exchange contact information because when you leave, you can't, you know, have contact with anyone.
Oh, right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as I read through the novel, I was surprised that you decided to put a verse, a spiritual verse,
Mm-hmm.
almost before every chapter. Why was that important to you?
So everything that it was, I tried to calculate the verses to go along with the chapters to allow the reader to catch something, you know, from the word before those chapters.
Okay. And okay, now I understand. I didn't really know the correlation between the verses, and unless you were trying to tell a complete story, and I really wasn't sure what that was. And that's probably because I'm not a person that knows the Bible as well as I should. So, you know, for us who are not, real advocates of the Bible and know it very well, I just was not sure why that train of thought came through. But I thought it was very well done, but I didn't understand it. But now I understand. So, lessons learned from people, friendships, family through this process.
Once again, Psalms 118 and 8. You know,
there was one person in particular who was your Judas. How did it affect you then, and how does it affect you now?
Very heartbreaking. Very heartbreaking. I didn't understand then, and I don't understand now. There's a void there. And I know that it has to stay there.
Absolutely.
And I forgive them totally. Because if I'm not forgiving, then I can't expect forgiveness. So I totally forgive them because there had to be a reason. And whatever that reason was, that was their reason. And that's how I how I deal with it. You know, whatever that reason was, that was your reason.
I call those people boosters, right? So when a rocket goes up, it needs boosters. But when it's in full throttle, the boosters fall off.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So some people just gotta fall off. Right? No matter how you do it or how you deal with it, they just have to go into the water. Right.
Okay.
And you have to move on from that.
Well, thank you for that.
So I want to talk about the halfway house for a minute. Let's go back. Now I have a prison reading ministry, so I'm not completely void of not knowing what goes on in prison. But I'm not knowledgeable about halfway houses and how they work. So you're in prison, they call you up or they take you out at lunchtime and say, okay, it's your time to leave. Or how does that transition?
So that's a big deal in prison. There's a PA system that goes over the whole yard. And there's a voice that everyone knows. And when that voice comes on, everyone starts listening because someone's name is going to be called. Once again, remember that no one had been to the halfway house
Right.
in a year. So when she came over the PA, it wasn't just for me. As a matter of fact, I didn't get called until maybe 2 weeks later, but names started being called. And it was totally exciting. So when your name is called, you go in and you speak with a counselor. And that counselor gives you your papers, they call them your walking papers, you know. So when you get those papers, your designation is on those papers and the date that you leave. Well, usually once your name is called, then you usually leave the next day. So it's very exciting. When you leave, you've already chosen how you're gonna leave, whether it's gonna be your family that picks you up or if the prison has to send you.
Transport you.
Yeah, usually families come. And, you know, when the families come, everybody's, you know, waiting, looking out of the windows or, you know, just to give that person a very big
farewell. Yeah.
So that's a big deal. So when you leave, now you have to report straight to the halfway house.
Okay.
Once again, if you don't report, then that's another charge. Once you get to the halfway house, you're given a set of rules. Your probation officer is there. It's you have to go through, they go through your things that you brought in from prison. You have to write down a list of people that you want to visit you. They want to know everything. Whoever is coming to visit you, there's a background check that's ran, because those will be the same person that's able to take you off campus, you know, whether you're going to church, whether you're going shopping, to a doctor's appointment. You know, some people have to get their license again. Whatever it takes for you to become gainfully employed, those people are assigned to take you. So the halfway house is a process. Now, some people get a chance to go to the halfway house for, 6 months. Some people, like me, for a couple of weeks, a few weeks. Whatever your time is at the halfway house, you have to be back at a certain time. So it's not a revolving door there. That door swings one way. So you've got to be back in at your designated time. And usually that's 7 o'clock. So where you're housed, I went to a place called Dismiss. Okay. That facility,
and where's that located, Dr. Gaines?
It's in Orlando.
It's in Orlando. Go ahead.
It's in Orlando. That facility housed maybe 100 men and only 8 women. Yes.
Yeah.
So we were in we were in a room, maybe just a normal bedroom, maybe. There were 4 bunk beds. Right. And you had a bathroom with a shower, and everything. It was a
humbling
experience. Very humbling. You took the word right out of my mouth.
Right.
But once again, I'm with women that, we did the same thing. So, now you get a chance to put your clothes on again. So that was a good part of that experience. Some people, I remember one of the girls, she did designer everything. So when her family brought her clothes, she was just, it was a very nice, night that night. So, we were reintroduced into society. Here's the clothes, here's the shades, that type of stuff. But again, it was a very humbling experience to stay with 7 other women. Yeah.
So tell me about, you had a job or no? You didn't get to that.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. My son actually, I worked for the Sanford, the Goldsboro Museum for Frances Oliver. So Miss Oliver allowed me to come and work over at the museum and the Welcome Center. And she goes, what do you want to do? I said, well, I mean, I was doing nails before. She said, well, you know what? There's a building over there. Go look at that building. And if you want to start back doing nails, I'll see what we can do about that building. And I started doing nails. Now at the halfway house, you have to pay to be there. You have to pay. They take 40% of your income. So whatever you make, they get 40% of it. And that 40% is meant to, when you're released, it's meant to, push you forward. But we've yet to see any.
You didn't get any of the benefits of the reap of the sow. You did not.
No.
Okay.
You don't get that.
Yeah, but we're not going back. We're not gonna worry about that.
Don't even worry.
No, we're not gonna worry about that.
Right.
So tell us about the powerhouse and how you are now helping ex-offenders to rebuild, rebound, and recover with proceeds of your book.
So the powerhouse is a place for ex-offenders, at-risk individuals. That's what we'll call us, to receive the necessities to become gainfully employed. Every at-risk individual will be assigned a counselor who will walk them through the process. Once the at-risk individual has become gainfully employed, the assigned counselor will follow them for 6 months, making themselves available to that individual for questions or concerns, whatever they may have. After that individual has completed our process, they will contact, they'll have contact information for our center in the event that a need or a concern may come up. Now, a portion of the book's proceeds are being used to manifest the powerhouse. So we haven't it's not up and running yet. But if anyone would like to donate, you can do that by going on the From Prison to Power website. And I know that we'll give that out later. But I know that together, we can help people rebound, rebuild, and recover. I had that help through Miss Frances Oliver. There was nothing that I needed that I didn't have. And I was a short timer. There's people that go to prison and they're there for years. So when they come in, and it's a stipulation that you become employed, that's the stipulation of your probation. So there's things that, like your social security card, your birth certificate, driver's license, you have to have these type things, clothing, shelter. You have to have these type things in order, not just to become employed, but to stay employed. So that's what the powerhouse is for.
And there's a young lady on this call who is heavily into the same thing. And I will make sure that you guys kind of hook up when this call is over.
Thank you.
Because she's done the work already. And so you can, the good thing about, we're collaborators, not competitors. Because there are enough people out here that need help, that are re-entering, that we don't have to fight over.
Right.
we just need to help them. Right. And she's in a whole nother area. So I'll make sure that happens. And when So you leave the halfway house. Are
Mhm.
you still on an ankle bracelet?
Yes.
Ooh.
When you are an ankle bracelet is placed on whatever ankle you like. And it just depends, on your timing, how long it's there. So usually, if you're released early, then the ankle monitor is left on for the remainder of the time that you were supposed to be at the halfway house. Does that make sense?
Yes. And so
Okay.
how long was that for you?
So for me, it was only another 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is monitored how?
It's
Like a GPS thing?
It is. And you have to be sure that it's charged. So you're actually laying in bed with a cord hooked to your ankle, charging your device.
Right. You're home, right? Now this we're not going to talk about any kind of discord that may have happened between you and your husband, because time does that, right? Other things happen. But when you came home, did you have a major powwow to kind of explain to maybe the younger generation who didn't understand? Or did you just let it happen naturally?
I had to let it happen naturally.
Okay.
There's just you can't make up for lost time.
You can't.
No. My children, I felt some resistance
From them?
I did.
Because they felt that, how could you do that? Right? That was it.
How could I leave them?
How could you leave them? Not that you did it, but you left them. Okay.
No, well, it was established.
Combination.
Oh yeah, I did it, listen, and we all reap the benefits from it. Right. So let's not, split any hairs about that. This was done and we all, reap the benefits. I think their anger came from me always being there for them. And there were situations that happened and I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that I could do about it.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. You can't go back and fix what's already happened. So I had to, allow them.
Right. To fend for themselves. You're on a trapeze, right? And if there's no net, the net's in prison.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
You got to learn how to fall.
Yeah.
And that's hard for a lot of our children, right? When the net's gone, right? But I'm sure they have become stronger because of it. So that's, hopefully they become stronger.
And I saw that. I saw growth. I did. My husband, he was, when I came home, he was he pushed me, because my thing, I was embarrassed totally. I didn't know how to restart. I didn't know how to, go back into society, with this new tag that I have. I have
trust,
something.
The trust factor.
I just, and people, believe it or not, they're not forgiving.
Oh,
even
no.
the ones that got the money. I didn't know how I was going to face anyone.
Like a Black man on the street and somebody clenching their purse. Like, what?
Yep.
We doing that? Yeah.
But thank God, for, again, Miss Francis, that door opening for me to start back doing nails. People started coming and it happened. It happened. People wanted to know, they wanted to tell me, I stood, I missed you, or I stood there, whatever it was, they wanted to talk about it. So, I mean, it was that allowed me to merge back into the flow of things.
Mm. Okay, let's talk about the cover. What made you decide to be on the cover?
Well,
it's powerful. Most people don't. And so,
okay.
What was the impetus to say, I want to show you who this book is all about?
So the book, the cover was really important to me.
Very well done.
I really needed the reader to feel the outcome and not the ordeal.
Or I thought you wanted everybody to know that somebody that looks like you can go to prison.
Oh,
right. It's not for, it's not for somebody you see on the street in the corner who's homeless, okay. Right? But, okay. Here I am, a very powerful woman who knew what to do and what not to do, but I went to prison anyway. That's what I took from it. But maybe that wasn't what you're.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate that. It was also important. I needed the readers to also understand that your substandard decisions or your poor astuteness, I'll say, does not have to establish your future.
Right.
So we make bad decisions. What I did was not a mistake. I've never called it a mistake. I made a very bad decision. I made bad choices, and it put me in a really, really bad position. To read your name, the United States of America versus Cappila Gaines.
Oh, I know, right?
To see that, 37 counts of aggravated identity theft that carries 3 years apiece per count, 3 years per count. Theft of government funds. I mean, Jeb Bush did theft of government funds, but that's another story,
Yeah.
So, that was it. It was a life-changing experience. I wouldn't give anything for it, because it changed me as a person. That change couldn't have happened to me in no other way. It had to be the way that it happened.
Did you ever say, God, why me?
I did. I did.
And what was the answer?
Why not? Yeah. Yeah,
you are the one that's going to set the tone and the path for people who may think that they can get away.
Yeah, listen, here's the thing. If it's, and this is really important.
I know, I get it.
And I still get emotional about certain things because there are people that will still try. I told you in the book exactly what I did. And now, yeah, someone took me to them, but that's how it goes. It could be by affiliation. But it's gonna happen, whatever it is. If it's not yours, if it's not legal, leave it alone.
Right.
There's no, you can slow grind it. Maybe you'll do it for 5 years, for 6 years, for 10 years, but there's an end to it. For me, it was quick. I'm like, well,
can you give me at least 5, 10 years?
So it didn't happen for me that way. Right. And I'm okay with that.
It wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't supposed to.
But if it's not yours, leave it alone.
Yeah. I want to ask you if there's anything that I did not ask that you would like to share. I tried to be astute about the questions that I asked without, giving the book away, which is great. Mm-hmm. But, is there anything you'd like to share that we did not go? And everyone, it's a quick read. It is a 2-day beach read. It's, you know, read while you wait. If you're at the doctor's office, you're waiting. If you're, you know, in a carpool, you're waiting. Just put it in your purse and 2 days it's done. It's a good book.
You know, I wanted to capture the attention and hold it. A lot of times I've picked up books and I've never finished them. I didn't want my book to be that book, you know.
Oh, so someone says, I recently heard that Jonah's time in the well, Jonah's time in the well was not for his punishment, but for his protection. Perhaps the quick end to the bad decision was for your ultimate protection. Wow.
Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thank
you. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you'd have gone any further, you'd have been in prison still.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and nothing I gained illegally was worth the torment I lived daily.
Right.
You know, the nightmares. You remember it was a 2-year period before I went to court.
Right.
Torture. 2 years. Yeah. So I thought
anticipation of it all.
You know, you have to stand in front of this stranger that really knows nothing about you, and they're going to determine your fate.
It's like having diarrhea for 2 years because you can't eat, you can't sleep. I mean, it's ridiculous. Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. For real. I get it. Any questions from the audience? No one? So please, Dr. Gaines, tell us how we can get copies of your, oh, you have a question? Go ahead.
I want to say that I am,
she should be your publisher.
That's my girl. She's my girl.
You are, don't cry now, don't start. We're on camera. I'm on camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna blacken your screen, LD. Get it out or type it out.
You know, some may not know I've known Cappila my whole life. I've known her before she was Dr. Gaines. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
For
the pivot is real.
Having the courage. Because a lot of people will keep their story to themselves. Particularly if that story doesn't put them in the best light.
Right.
It takes courage to tell your story so that other people will be helped. And I want you to know that I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
You can hear my
I tell everybody there's a message in your mess.
But I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
There's a message in your mess, really, for other people when you don't even know it, right? Thank you for letting us all cry. I appreciate that.
So I asked God to allow me to be the sacrificial lamb for anyone that I knew. It was not an easy journey.
Oh, no.
You read in the book, you know, it was not easy at all.
At all.
There was a lot, it wasn't easy. But it was my faith and what I knew about God that helped me through. I pray that, you know, anyone that hears my story, reads the book, you know, I pray that if they're thinking about doing something illegal, that this turns them around. Because the emotional part of the journey, you know, it's more than a notion. Again, nothing that I did was worth the torment that I went through. I think one of your questions was, did I think the year and a day, you know, pretty much was enough? I thought the 2 years, you know, before I was sentenced was enough. there was a constant battle. I felt that God didn't hear me anymore. I felt that, you know, my prayers weren't reaching him.
And he was protecting you the whole time. Because I'm here to tell you. And those of us who know, you should not be home.
Right.
So,
right.
You know, the grace was sufficient.
Yes.
It really was. It really was.
Yes, it sure was.
It really was.
Yes.
So I know you're in the middle of probably revamping your whole situation with your book, but do you want to tell us how to get copies now, or?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is From Prison to Power. You can actually go to my website. We have a website. It's real simple, www.FromPrisonToPower.net. That's where you can buy the book. You'll also see it's a checklist on how to self-surrender to the Bureau of Prisons.
Oh.
I pray to God no one needs that, but in case someone does, because I had no idea how to go to prison. There were so many unanswered questions. No one could tell me anything. I was trying to prepare. What do I take? What, and no one knew. So now, I wrote a pamphlet, a checklist on what to expect, when you get there, just the whole layout. For engagements, you can go to my email address. That email address again is FromPrisonToPower@gmail.com. Or you can reach me by phone. And that number is 321-216-7352.
Give it to us again. 321.
Again, it's 321-216-7352.
And so everybody, we are collaborators, not competitors. Dr. Gaines is here to help anyone who may need help coming back into the system, back into the community, or, reach out if you need help, right? That's what we're all here for. And prison is a state of mind, not a lifelong journey, right?
Right.
Either in or out of prison, know that your life has a purpose.
Right.
And so I thank you, Dr. Gaines, for being here. I thank you all for being here on Monday Night Football night.
Thank you.
And this will be uploaded to YouTube within the next half an hour. And I'll make sure you get a copy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being on Zoom in on a Fresh Conversation. Thank you for everyone for being here this evening. Good night.
Good night.